Chapter 16. Spying Through a Keyhole. Buckingham Palace was eerie at the best of times, and especially at night. Alfred made his way down the long, sweeping staircase, treading on each step lightly in case it made a sound. He patted his top pocket. The pad and pencil he needed for taking notes were still there. As Alfred drew nearer and nearer to the ballroom, he noticed there was some discordant sound coming from it. So, when he reached the huge wooden door, he knelt down and peeped through a keyhole. The entire room was illuminated by candles. They had been placed on the floor in some kind of formation, perhaps in the shape of a star. It was difficult to tell exactly. Members of the royal guard stood to attention as the Lord Protector, with an old red leather-bound book in his hand for reference, was marking the floorboards with chalk. So the Lord Protector was behind those strange markings. But what was he drawing or writing? And was that book the mysterious Book of Albion? When the Lord Protector had finished, the wooden floor was covered in chalk markings. Then he gestured to a group of guards who were standing in the corner of the ballroom. On cue, they lifted a tall stone statue from behind them and placed it on the exact spot carefully indicated by the Lord Protector. Alfred immediately recognised it. It was a statue of a beast. Not just any beast, a griffin, half lion and half eagle. The griffin was a symbol of divine power, a power that is impossible to imagine, a power over life and death, a power to create or destroy the universe. Alfred recognised a particular stone statue of the griffin. It had once sat on the wall on the front wall of Buckingham Palace, but, like many valuable artefacts, it had been moved to safety inside. Next, the members of the royal guard took their positions around the ballroom, like figures on a chessboard. Then, on the Lord Protector's signal, they began to sing. Alfred turned his ear in as much as he could. It wasn't a song exactly, more of a chant. The noise they made was unsettling, as if they were conjuring someone from the dead. The Lord Protector began reading aloud from the book. He was speaking in some ancient language. The sound of his voice and the chanting from the royal guards grew louder and louder until a figure appeared through the tall double doors at the far end of the ballroom. It was a man, bathed in the light of 1,000 candles burning behind him. He was barefoot, wearing pyjamas. From his long grey beard, Alfred immediately recognised the man. It was his father, the king. Chapter 17. The king looked as if he was sleepwalking as he moved straight towards the Lord Protector, stopping in the dead centre of the ballroom. Alfred felt a pain in his heart. It was horrible seeing his own father look so lost. The chanting grew louder and louder as the king held out his hand. One of the royal guards passed the Lord Protector an ornate medieval sword. It had a distinctive jewelled handle which glistened with all the colours of the rainbow. The man took the weapon and slowly cut the king's hand. Slice. Alfred winced from behind the door as he spied his father's blood trickle from his hand. The Lord Protector then guided the king's hand until it was directly over the griffin. Drip, drip, drip. The blood spilled onto the head of the statue. Then, as if by magic, all the candles in the ballroom went out at once, and the room was plunged into darkness. Black. Out of the gloom, something began to take shape. At first it was nothing more than a flame. Then the flames grew and grew as they licked higher and higher. The heat and light from the flames felt 100 times hotter and brighter than a roaring fire. The flames were gold fire. Alfred closed his eyes behind the keyhole for fear of being blinded. But as much as he couldn't look, he had to. He rubbed his eyes before putting it back to the keyhole. The flames were taking the shape of a beast, a winged beast, a beast made of fire, the most powerful beast in all the universe, the griffin. And it was alive. Part 2. Power over life and death. Chapter 18. The Mouth of Hell. Alfred couldn't believe his eyes. The Lord Protector had conjured this mythical beast to life. The book The ancient markings on the floor, the chanting, the medieval sword, the king's blood, all of them played their part in these dark arts. No wonder the king had become nothing but a walking shadow. He seemed to be just a pawn in the Lord Protector's wicked game. From the other side of the keyhole, Alfred watched the scene unfold. The griffin beat its mighty wings, and the golden flames licked the walls of the palace ballroom. It was like looking into the mouth of hell. Death, destruction. This was evil in its purest form. All would be forced to kneel before it or suffer a terrible fate at the claws of this beast. The griffin let out a deafening cry. Quack! The bomb-proof glass windows cracked. Crack. Plaster fell from the ceiling. Rumble. The sound was so loud that the king covered his ears in pain. All of a sudden he came back into the land of the living. No! He cried as he leapt at the Lord Protector to wrestle the ancient sword from his hands. I won't do this! Set me free! The royal guards pounced on him, but he just managed to grab the sword and lunge at the large beast. Ah! He screamed as the sword sliced through the griffin's heart of fire. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the mighty beast vanished. Into air, into thin air. It was as if it were nothing more than an illusion. The king dropped the sword. Clank. As the Lord Protector's face darkened with fury, he gestured to one of the guards, who struck the king hard across the face with his gloved hand. It knocked the king out cold. He collapsed to the floor with a thud. From behind the tall wooden door, Alfred desperately wanted to call out to his father, but he was frozen in fear. After all, he had just seen a monster. Just as the boy was about to tiptoe back up to his bedroom, he felt someone looking, or something looming behind him. Slowly he turned around. The all-seeing eye was staring right back at him. They were eye to eye, gigantic eye. The game was up.